good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Thursday, September 7th, 2023. And our top story today, with the Roth Catch Up provision delayed, the focus shifts to other Secure Act provisions. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Michael Hadley is with Davis and Harman and also counsel for the Spark Institute. Michael, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
All right. It's been about 10 days since the IRS came out and delayed the Roth Catch Up. I want to check in with you. We had a great conversation last week with a colleague of yours, David Levine, but I want to talk to you about get your reaction and more importantly, Spark's reaction.
Well, I will say it was quite a Friday, and they released it on a Friday afternoon, usually when they dump the bad news. But in this case, it was good news. And I can't tell you how many emails I got from people saying, boy, what a nice present. I think the first thing is I've stopped hearing questions. I've gotten a break of a week from questions about the Roth catch-up. People sort of said, okay, we can take our foot off the brake. Let's reevaluate what we need to get done this year. There's still a lot to get done. But I think the reaction has largely been, oh, my goodness, now I have some time to kind of think about other things. And so they're focused on what else do they need to do by the end of the year. So it was largely just a lot of thanks for the IRS and Treasury sort of digging deep to figure out how they could give us really a sufficient amount of time to be ready for a fairly significant change to how 401k plans work.
Very significant, and it impacts not just record keepers who are part of Spark and other third parties, but also payroll providers. Michael, you talk about prioritization. There's a lot going on with Secure 2.0, a lot of other features that are coming to the fore, I guess, in 2024 that really need attention.
That's right. Yeah. And I think there are some optional ideas that Secure 2.0 created that I think record keepers, employers, and as you say, payroll providers just did not have the time to focus on, because this one change was so important, impacted every single plan in the country, that there just wasn't enough time to think about that. And they were very focused on, the employers were focused on getting their payroll providers to be ready for it, be ready on January 1. The record keepers, I think, were going to be ready because they're largely just tracking a new source. But there's so much coordination that has to go on. On top of that, making sure you get employers that don't have a Roth feature to add one, which can't be done quickly, and educating hundreds of thousands of employees about what Roth is and what this new mandate meant for them. And that just was not going to be able to be done properly in the time we had left. So I think one consequence I think we're going to see over the next couple of months is that many employers will start looking at the really good parts of Secure 2.0 that they might be able to implement, and they just didn't have time to focus on previously.
So in terms of, can we just talk, before we go to a commercial break, because what I want to do is let's talk a little bit more about Secure and what's coming down the pike January 1 of 2024. Yeah. But then in the second segment, I want to talk about other regulation that we could expect. So what, just to kind of recap, so the IRS delays the Roth catch up, which it's a good thing, but we need more time. But what provisions, you don't have to go through all 91, but what key provisions are there that we can expect to be implemented for January 1st of next year?
Well, there are a number of things that still kick into effect next year that will affect, I would say, most plans. One that I hope most employers are thinking about is you no longer have to take required minimum distributions from Roth accounts. Boy, a nice benefit that equalizes the treatment between Roth and Roth IRAs and Roth in plan. So you don't have this incentive to take your money out of your plan to an IRA. Another one is a change to how spouses will take their RMDs. A really nice benefit if you inherit a plan account, you can take money out slower, again, equalizing the treatment with an IRA. There are also a number of provisions that have already kicked in, but for which we just don't have guidance yet. I think they're probably a next year issue. There are some new distribution options, some new distribution rules that are available under Secure 2.0. They're all slightly different. And a number of employers are looking at a new option for Roth employer contributions, giving the employee the opportunity to make those as a Roth. So you pay tax now, rather than later. And then lastly, the one everyone was focused on when Secure 2.0 passed is a provision allowing an employer to make matching contributions when an employee repays their student loan, available next year. Fairly complicated, but another one that we'll be able to focus on, I think, with this Roth Catch Up mandate delayed for 2 years.
And Michael, to that end, I mean, this is not a direct correlation, but they're restarting student loans. And so that benefit in particular probably becomes a little bit more important. Not that retirement isn't important, but that benefit to match that probably pretty important to a lot of employers vis-a-vis to their employees.
I think there are a lot of employers that are looking at that very closely. There are some pros and cons to it, and there may be other ways to help your employees with student loans, but I think there are a lot of employers, especially those that have a lot of employees with student loans who really need that as a benefit, that are looking very seriously at adding that feature to their program. So I think it's great that we got this delay on really the elephant in the room so that we can focus on some of these other great Secure 2.0 provisions.
Yeah, well, Michael, as I said, I want to take a very quick break. When we come back, what regulations can we expect? We're here, it's September. What can we expect? You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM.
Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network. Welcome back. We're joined this morning by Michael Hadley of Davis and Harman and also the Spark Institute. Michael, thanks as always for staying with us. Really appreciate hanging around for segment number 2 this morning.
Great. Thanks for having me back.
All right. Let's talk about, okay, so we've got the IRS delaying the Roth Catch Up. So what other regulations, may either related to or not related to Secure 2.0, can we expect now that the IRS has delayed that particular provision?
Well, let me say it this way, Jeff. If the IRS is listening right now, first, thank you for that delay. But secondly, what would be next on my list? What's the next highest priority to get some guidance on? And everyone will have a different answer. My answer would be we need guidance on the new long-term part-time rule. This is a rule from Secure 1.0, but enhanced by Secure 2.0 that requires a 401k plan to offer participation to employees who have worked for a series of years, was 3, now moved down to 2, worked at least 500 hours a year. And very important because it affects most 401k plans, and we've gotten almost no guidance. The IRS has said, we're working on proposed regulations. We hope to get them soon. It can't come soon enough. That kicks in for many plans starting next year. They've got to start letting these part-time employees into the plan. A lot of questions about how that's going to work. Another one that I think we have been waiting on, a Secure 1.0 issue, are final regulations related to the changes made by Secure 1.0 to required minimum distributions, or RMDs. Significantly changed how things work when a participant or IRA owner dies. And I will say, I know you have a lot of advisors that follow this. They are waiting with bated breath to understand how IRS resolves some of those provisions. Also important for the record-keeping industry, members of Spark, because it affects their programming. And the last one I'll mention, and this one is just for you advisors, if you have not heard of a provision called partial annuitization, a Secure 2.0 provision, you need to learn a lot about it because it's an incredibly powerful tool to help your higher net worth customers. It's also helpful for plan participants with their RMDs. And basically the way that it works is if you have a client or plan participant who annuitizes part of their account, not the whole thing. Most people wouldn't annuitize all their savings, but they buy an annuity and they annuitize some of it. It allows you to take credit for those payments against the RMD that your client otherwise has to take. And in some circumstances can reduce the RMD that your client would otherwise have to take by 90%. Very powerful tool. If I can give you with any homework, that's one that we do need some guidance on. We're hoping this year, and one that advisors should pay attention to.
I was going to ask you, Michael. So, I mean, you're someone who talks to people on the Hill, talks to people among the regulatory community. Any thoughts about the expectation? I guess there would be a comment period. They would release something, maybe an interim rule or something in advance, because you need something to guide people, to educate people. So is there any thoughts around timing? And again, not to put you on the spot, and not to put the IRS on the spot, that's not the goal here.
Yeah.
But just if you're watching this as an advisor or you're watching this as a participant or an individual, you want to kind of learn, because we're coming down the home stretch to the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a mix. So there's going to be some pieces of guidance that will come out as kind of Q&As. There may be a comment period, but not a proposed regulation. You may have heard of talk of an IRS grab bag notice, and that'll take, I don't know, 5 or 6 provisions of Secure 2.0 and answer some questions. There are other things that will be proposed regulations, like the long-term part-time rule. That's going to be a proposed regulation, comment period, which is good because it's complex. Another example of something that will have a comment period will be the Department of Labor's fiduciary rule, which, you and I have been doing this for a long time, and it's now a dozen years, and that is still going on. And the Department of Labor is saying, expect a new proposal sometime soon. And that will also occupy the fall, maybe early next year, for those of us that work on policy issues. So again, there'll be some where we will be able to comment. There'll be others, largely those ones from the IRS, some implementation issues, for which we'll get some guidance that'll help us answer the most pressing questions, but perhaps subject to changes later.
And I have to think, Michael, that, we've got the forum coming up in early November. I have to think that some, if not all of this, along with Secure and some other topics, are really going to be on the agenda. I maybe think that you and your colleague, Chris, might be talking about some of these issues.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The Spark Forum, which is always around Election Day. If you go to Spark Forum in Florida, make sure you get your absentee ballot in if you have a vote this year. But it's always a kind of a good time because there's always a lot of stuff that comes out sort of September, October. Regulators are just like regular people. The summer can be slow, but then they start really working in September and October. So I agree. I think we will see some of the things that I've talked about have been released by then. And so there's always a lot to talk about at the Spark Forum.
Yeah, always a lot to talk about at the Spark Forum, and also a lot of good information coming from the Spark organization through its newsletter and its website. Michael, we're going to have to leave it there. Great to talk to you as always. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon. And that wraps up this episode of BRNAM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news and lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more, all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content? Visit our website. We're back again tomorrow with another great edition of BRNAM. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe. Keep on saving. Don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the First Lifestyle and Wellness Network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive
branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.